Hey YouTube, MyDarkness85 here. What's up? Here's my Infernoid deck for this format. I'm about to show it to you guys what I have so far. We got free Infernoid Daivekis. This is the heavy storm of the Infernoids. When it's normal summoned or special summoned, this can destroy all spell and trap cards on the field. And also, when an effect of a monster effect is activated, you contribute one monster on the field to negate the activation of the effect and destroy it. You can even tribute this. You can also tribute itself to use the second effect. Next cards. Free of these Infernoid guys. This is the Raigeki or Dark Hole, if whatever you want to call it, of the Infernoids. When this is normal or special summon, this destroys all other monsters on the field except itself. And its other effect is if your opponent activates a spell or trap card effect, you contribute one monster on the field to negate the activation of the spell or trap card, and if you do, destroy it. And you can also tribute itself to activate the second effect, so it's really cool. It's really good. You can pull off a lot of combos with this card. Next card is this guy. This basically basically once per turn, if this attacks an opponent's monster, it can at the end of the battle phase, it can banish one card on the field. And once per turn during either player's turn, you contribute one monster on the field, including itself, to target one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. So this is really good against matchups like against like ABC and Metaphors, because you can banish critical cards that your opponent might need later on to make a comeback, and that can really dampen their comeback. Especially against ABCs, because the A Assault Core and the B and C monsters are really essential for that deck. And if you get rid of them, you pretty much win the game against an ABC deck. The next one is... Oh, yeah, actually, I read 3 of these, actually. Next one is one and a tall Dell, whatever it's called. Basically, if this attacks an opponent's monster and destroys it, and it can attack once again in a row, and the second effect's the same as the last one, you can, during your player's turn, you contribute one monster on the field and target one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. And he has 2,800 attack, so he's really powerful. So basically, if you destroy a monster with him, you get another attack. We got one of each of these guys. I'm probably going to pull this. I'm going to pull him, take him out of the deck, and put a second one of this guy in, because this guy doesn't really do much. But this guy, when he inflicts battle damage to your opponent by attacking an opponent's monster, you can banish. Your opponent has to banish one card from their extra deck. It's their choice, and banish it. So it's a good way of fitting out their extra deck. I really don't want to explain its effect, but its effect is if this inflicts battle damage by attacking an opponent's monster, you can send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. And basically, these two have the same final effects. You contribute one monster on the field during either player's turn to target one card in the graveyard and banish it. So it's self-explanatory. Oh yeah, we have another one. Never mind. We got free Decatrons. This is one of the main cards in the deck. This gets your combos going at most times. When this is summoned or special summoned, normal or special, you can send one Infernoid monster from your deck to the graveyard except itself. And if you do, it increases this card's level by the level of the sent monster. And you could also copy the monster's name and its effects. So if you were to send, like, for example, like you summon him, you could send this to the grave to incinerate all the opponent's monsters on the field, or send a Daiveki to the graveyard and destroy all spell and traps. There's a lot of combos you can pull off with this card. I have so many I could name, but I just don't have time to name them all. But there's a lot of combos you can pull off with this card. And I'm really surprised that Infernoids did not get touched on this recent ban list. I'm pretty surprised. I thought they would. Like, if they were going to target Infernoids, they would probably put this guy at 2 or 1, basically, but they didn't, so I'm pretty surprised about that. But eventually, they're probably going to limit this deck pretty bad. The next card is the spell and trap card removal of the Infernoids. It's like the Mystical Space Typhoon of the Infernoids. When this is summoned, basically what this does is, once per turn, you can target one spell and trap card on the field, and if you do, destroy it. And basically, you tribute one monster on the field to target one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it during either player's turn. So it's the same thing. And free Harmonic. His effect is, once per turn, you can target one monster on the field and destroy it, but this card cannot declare an attack on the turn you use that effect. And then its other effect is you contribute one monster on the field, then you can target one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. So, same thing as the last previous ones. This card basically targets a set card on the field and shuffles it back into the opponent's deck. And then you contribute one monster, target one card in your opponent's graveyard and banish it. And it's a quick effect. So basically, it's really hard to react to it. So, yeah. It's a pretty good card. You can actually target a set card, put it back, and return it to the opponent's deck. It's really, really tedious. This guy, he can be used as a stall at times. Its effect is, I could target one face-up card my opponent controls and return it to the hand. So basically, it's similar to this, but it returns one card, face-up card. It has to be face-up. So if I had this on the field, if my opponent had, for example, like Anti-Spell Fragments or Union Hanger or whatever, I could just activate the effect and return it to their hand. And you contribute one monster on the field to target one card in your opponent's graveyard banish it, so that's self-explanatory. So for the non-Infernoid monsters, I run 2 Raiden. Hands on the Lightsword. He's a 1700 beat stick, and its effect is you can mill up to 2 cards from your deck, and if any of them are a Lightsword monster, it gains 200 for each one milled. And he can also be used as a tuner monster, and during each end phase, if he's on the field, you mill 2 cards from your deck to the graveyard. So basically, you can use this, or Lila, or Fairy Tale Snow to make Psych Frame Lord Omega, basically. So it's a pretty cool card. Lila, extra spell and trap card removal. And 2 Fairy Tale Snow, you banish 7 cards from your graveyard. You can special summon it. So there's a lot of combos you can pull off of this card, including with XYZ summons and synchro summons. So it's a really good card to have. Really awesome. For the spells, we run free Void Vanishment. This card basically is a searcher for Void spell or trap card, except for Eye of the Void. And basically, when you activate this card, you can't normal special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for Infernoid monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. If an Infernoid monster you control battles an opponent's monster at any time, you can send this card to the graveyard to banish that monster, basically. So it's a good way to get rid of a troublesome monster for good. It's really awesome. And this card right here searches for, like, the cards I run. The other Void cards I run is Void Imagination, Void Seer, and Void Feast. So this basically can search out for any of those guys. This is the fusion card for the Infernoids and for the fusion, which I'll explain a bit later. Basically, increases your Infernoid monsters. The original levels of your Infernoid monsters are 2 or higher, become level 1. They basically become level 1. So that means this card can really bust out combos in so many ways. Because now, all Infernoid monsters you have on the field that are 2 or higher basically automatically become level 1. And all battle damage they inflict to your opponent is halved. So that's the only downside. But you can send this card to the graveyard and send from your hand or field Infernoid monsters for a fusion material, especially some of that fusion monster. So the more you send to the graveyard with that effect, the better effects that fusion monster is going to have in sequence, which I'll explain to you momentarily when we get to there. 2 Void Seer, this basically protects your Infernoids from destruction from card effects. And you can also banish this card. If an Infernoid monster I control were to be destroyed, I can banish this card to save it. So it's a really good card to have, and it's a good quick play spell as well. Next card we have here is one of the main spell cards of the deck. The grass looks greener. So basically, you run a 60-card deck. Your opponent has 35 cards after they draw their opening hands. You play this, and you basically can mill up to almost close to 20 cards. But this card's like a risk, and it can pay off. either way. It depends when you use it and if you mill the right stuff with the right card combinations that can help you win the duel. So it's just like Pot of Desires. It's just as risky, but if you mill the right stuff at the right time, you pretty much win the game. Free Pot of Desires. I might cut this down to 2 or 1. It's another risky card is you activate it, you banish 10 cards to draw 2 cards. But the thing is, you don't know what cards you banished because you can't. They have to be face down, which kind of sucks. So, but sometimes it could pay off in a crucial situation when you need to get some cards into your hand quickly. So yeah, self-explanatory. 2 Charge of Light Brigades. This could search for my Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn, or Lila. And it can also mill stuff that you need to send to the graveyard to pull off some card combos with your Infernoids and to special summon them from the graveyard or from your hand by banishing the required conditions for the summoning. So it's a pretty good card to have. Monster Gate, Reason, and 1-for-1. I don't really need to explain these because these are just basically like stuff that helps your combos out. Like 1-for-1 will help you get like Infernoid Decatron, which helps you set off the combos. Reason basically sends cards to the graveyard until you can grab a monster that you can normal summon if they guess wrong. But the only downside to Reason is if you mill the correct monster they level, the mill stops. In Monster Gate, you tribute the keep milling cards until you can get a monster that can be normal summoned. So the only normal summonable monsters in this deck are Lila, Raiden, Fairy Tail Snow, and Infernoid Decatron. That's it. So basically, those are the only monsters in the deck that can be manually normal summoned. Everything else has to have banished cost. Foolish Burial, good way to begin your combo. You could like send any Infernoid monster from your deck to the graveyard, or you can send a Fairy Tail Snow or something. Whatever one works best for you. Burial brings back the stuff you banished for summoning costs, and it's a really good card. I wish this card went back to 2, but then this deck would be really broken, basically. And if this was at 2, I would run 2. Left Arm Offering. I might cut this down to 2 because I really don't see any reason to have free. I think 2 is more sufficient, but I'll see how it goes. But if it's a little cloggy, I'll take this out and probably put something else in that can help the deck. Double Twin Twister. I might add a third one just to have some extra spell trap card removal. I'm also considering adding Galaxy Cyclones to the deck, 2 of each. And free Twin Twisters. That'll help me have maximum spell trap card removal so I can get my combos out there without interruption. The self-explanatory cards, Dark Hole, Regeki. Monster removal, which you need. And my only 2 traps in the deck are Void Feast. You send 1 Void spell from your hand or field to the graveyard, and you can special summon up to 3 Infernoid monsters that equal exactly 8, ignoring the summoning requirements. So you could summon like 2 Harbordix and 1 Decatron, or something like that. There's a lot of combos you can just pull off this card. You could also just summon 1 monster, like the monster that destroys all spell and traps, and the one that destroys all other monsters on the field. So a lot of combos you can pull off to this card. Now, I'm going to explain something about the Fusion Monster. I really don't have an extra deck fully sealed, and set up yet, so I'm just going to show you one monster from there. That's like basically the main card of my extra deck, aside from Psych Frame Omega. I just got to look for it for a minute. Hold on. Oh, it's right here. It's called Infernoid Tyra, whatever it's called. Its effect is this monster gains the following set effects in sequence for equal to the number of materials you use to fusion summon this card. But it has to be with different names, though, however. 3 or more. Each player sends 3 cards from their extra deck to the graveyard. 5 or more. Each player sends the top 3 cards from their deck to the graveyard. 8 or more. Each player returns up to 3 of their banished cards to the graveyard. And level 10 or more. Each player sends their entire hand to the graveyard. So if you send up to 10 Infernoid materials, you can basically use all effects in sequence. It's not even funny. This effect could be so broken. And this card can be special summoned from the graveyard. Because it doesn't say it can't be normal summoned in other ways, except by fusion summon. So there's a lot of combos you can pull with this card. Depends how you use it. So that's my Infernoid deck for now. I'll have another update on this as soon as possible. So hope you enjoyed this video. More videos coming soon. Later, guys.